City Sounds. Creating podcasts, creating podcasters.
Hello and welcome to Podcast Gold. This mini-series is a production from the MA Podcasting course at City St George's University. We've been hosting an evening of British Podcast Award Gold winners, and we'll be sharing some of their tips, ideas and inspiration, and their thoughts about what the next big thing will be.
For this episode, we're asking bright and brilliant producers and presenters for their advice for podcasting newcomers. First of all, what makes podcasts distinct from other mediums, and how can you use that to your advantage?
One of the things that makes new producers special is that you've got your own fresh take on things, and you shouldn't let go of that instinct. I think trust your gut, trust your instinct. If something is interesting to you, there's somebody else that is interesting to as well.
That's Sackur Sadiq, producer and presenter of Sacred Money.
We need newer stuff, different stuff. And sometimes it might flop. It might be the case that you put out something and you think, I've done something really revolutionary here and it's really different and innovative, and people are like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I do not understand this. And that's fine, but you've got to kind of hone your instincts and trust your gut.
Mark Sandell is a producer of shows such as Answers for Claudia and Manhunt. With Victoria Derbyshire, he makes the award-winning And Then Came Breast Cancer.
The key word for podcasts is intimacy. You invite a podcast into your headphones, into your car, into your kitchen. So it's a conscious decision to bring it in. So use the intimacy of podcasting. Then decide just how much of that you're going to share and what you feel comfortable about sharing. But it's a really honest medium, because you've got the time to tell your story exactly how you want to tell it. No one's telling you to wind up because we're going to the news or the weather. So tell the story exactly as you want to tell it, and that's the beauty of it, in a way.
Audio is also a medium where it's in the ether, it's not tangible, it's not concrete, it's not written down, there's no visuals, you can't sort of rewind. You don't want your listeners to feel that they have to rewind to understand what you're saying. So you need to be clear, but you also need to be accurate.
I'm Jane Gerber. I'm co-founder and creative director of Peanut and Crumb. Podcasting is a very busy space. There's a lot out there. And so it's really working out how you tell your story differently and checking out your competitors, checking out what's already out there, and then finding your niche. So, yeah, you can do it and you can crack it, but really opening your eyes to the wider market.
When it comes to research and interviewing, Victoria Derbyshire has some hard-won advice.
So I would say, from a host's perspective, be a really good listener. Your guests are the most important thing. And it's not really about you, it's about them. Obviously, if you've experienced what they have experienced, you can share that, but it's mostly about the people who you have invited on. I would say, know your stuff. It's respectful to your guests to know the subject. I would also say, if you don't know something, it's cool to say, I don't really understand that. What? What do you mean? And you can do that. You can do that on all sorts. You can do that on TV, you can do that on radio. You can certainly do it in a podcast form.
What should new producers keep in mind when it comes to editorial decisions? Here's The Guardian's Hannah Moore.
I think structure, because you can get yourself into a right tizzy if you go out and just record tons of audio, come back, and you don't know how you're going to compile it. And this goes for radio as well as podcasts. I know when I started out in radio, I definitely had a few times when I had not thought about the structure beforehand, and you just completely blank out. You don't know how you're going to bring it all together. So I would say it's definitely worth putting in the time to structure it before you go out.
The priority was always to tell a good story and to create a connection between the listener and either the contributor's story or my personal story as a presenter. And so really bringing out the human element, really bringing out the personal story, and only including information that was going to be absolutely necessary. You have to kill all of your darlings. You have to leave so much on the cutting room floor, and it makes for a way better series, actually. And I think paring everything down to the simplest possible thing and then building back up from there gave us more control than trying to cover everything in like a first cut.
We've heard from producers and presenters, but what about those behind the business of podcasting?
Hi, I'm Sandy and I'm looking after news and podcast partnerships at YouTube here in the UK. So I think on YouTube as a platform, there's opportunity for anyone to find their audiences, their niche audiences. And so I think any topic that you want to address or cover could find a space in an audience onto YouTube. So it's about really engaging with an audience on the platform, defining what it is and who it is you want to reach. Then it's about trying to get that audience and deepen that audience, that relationship with them. So that's really important, and it's really part of that journey on the platform. And in order to be successful, it's an essential step when you actually decide to get on board and kind of launch your podcast onto YouTube. Now, the last piece of that as well is data. Is as you evolve and as you find your groove on the platform, it's about looking at the data to inform you how you move forward, how your content strategy evolves with your audience, because audiences evolve and things change, and what you want to do is use that data to really evolve with your audiences.
I'm Bella Neale. I'm a producer, currently head of production at the Hidden 20%. There is such a real obsession with data and analysing data, and it's so important to do that. But I would say don't throw away what you've created and your brand in order to follow that and grow that. So often I think we're being led by the data that all of these podcasts are becoming the same, and they don't have their own USP and they don't have their own unique brand. So I would say the biggest thing is solidify your brand before you start, and go in hard with it, and don't let anything throw you too far off.
And what about those first rungs on the industry ladder?
Don't be afraid to take risks. I was interviewing at the time when I got this job for the Wall Street Journal and Global, and those are all really amazing companies to work for, but of course it can be harder sometimes to grow quickly in larger companies. And so I would say don't be afraid to work for independent podcasts, and you never know what can happen in a very short space of time.
Jordan Dunbar is presenter of Blood on the Dance Floor. He's got this key advice when it comes to getting your stories commissioned.
I think making things is really important, and I mean that I let perfection get in the way of good early on, so I thought, well, I don't want to go and interview this person. I don't have the right kit, I don't know really what I'm doing, I don't know about the script, but actually having any sort of evidence of what you can do, your voice or your writing is so helpful. And I think don't let the inner critic stop you doing things. Go and do it, silence it. The more times you do it, the better you get at it, and the more likely you are when you get that amazing story to be able to go, hey, I've got a great story, and as evidence I can do it, here's all this back catalogue of stuff.
Podcasting is a busy space, but keeping your eye on the practical requirements while retaining what's unique about your storytelling really can pay off. We'd love to hear your thoughts on our guests' advice. Get in touch via City Sound's socials. Links are in the show notes.
This has been a production from the MA Podcasting course at City St George's University.